Welcome to the Unbeaten Path podcast. I'm Sechrist, and every Tuesday and Thursday, I interview and tell the stories of individuals who've created the life they want on their terms. We'll talk to dream chasers, entrepreneurs, people pursuing a life of personal success and fulfillment over status and money, and everything in between. Each episode will not only provide key insights and lessons learned along the way, but also the inspiration for you to take action toward the life you want. So let's head down the Unbeaten Path. What up, what up? Thank you so much for joining me on this introductory episode of the Unbeaten Path podcast. Right now, you're probably thinking, what is this show all about? The podcast is based on my belief if you desire to experience personal success and true fulfillment in your life, then taking action toward the life you want and not the life others expect you to live is key. If you're like me, you want to live a life of meaning and fulfillment, but you might not think it's a realistic scenario for you. We hear the stories of the Bill Gates and the celebrities of the world and cannot imagine that it's in our reach for a regular person, quote unquote. You think you need to get really lucky, be smarter than everyone else, or be really well connected to achieve these type of lives. And believe me, I was right there with you. But here's the good news. That simply isn't true. There are individuals from all different backgrounds creating the life they want in an endless amount of ways. And twice a week, you and I get to talk to one of them and hear their journey and all the knowledge they gained along the way. And the best part is the ridiculous amount of inspiration you're going to see from hearing their stories. I can tell you firsthand from the guests I've already been able to talk with that the inspiration has never ceased to amaze me. And I kind of honestly feel like a nerd for admitting this, but after my conversation with my guest for episode 1, Adam Kimball, I went in my backyard and I just looked up a YouTube video and did a workout because this guy is absolutely insane. And I mean that in the best possible way. You're going to hear the amount of mental strength he has. It's absolutely absurd. I can't wait for you to check it out. And all the other guests I have lined up for you, they have absolutely blown my expectations out of the water. You know, when I finalized this idea and thought of all the different guests I wanted and the variety, I could have never imagined that it turned out this well. Like, I am just so excited to share them with you. There are some badass people out there, and you and I get to hang out with them every Tuesday and Thursday. This podcast is also going to provide you with the tools you need to take action to create your life of meaning, especially if you're struggling to take that first step. That's going to be a focal point throughout. We're always going to hear with each guest what led them to that first action step and how they're actually able to do it. And listen, there's not going to be any judgment from me if you haven't taken that step yet. It took me an entire life of dreaming of scenarios, as well as 5 long years in the corporate world to finally do it. I was a college kid who was completely confused the entire time he was at school, never knowing what he actually wanted to do with the rest of his life. Then graduation comes and all my friends are starting to get their first real jobs and they're super excited about it. And I was really happy for them. But I also felt really isolated and alone during this time because I just knew I could never be fulfilled by these jobs. And listen, I know that the first job out of college is not meant to be great and you got to put your time in to move up in this world. But the problem I had is when I would go over the jobs and the careers and paths that they led to, I just knew I would never be happy in those scenarios. And that mindset led me right back home with my parents after college. And my first job out of school was at a car wash. And the car wash was in the neighborhood I grew up in. So I got to see all the parents I've known my entire life on a daily basis. And I can just remember just so many times where some parent who I haven't seen in a while would get out of their car and they'd have this really confused look on their face and just be like, "Sean, have you graduated yet?" And I'd be like, "Yep." And then I'd lead to this really awkward conversation. During that time, I probably made up more interviews that I had in the next couple weeks than probably anyone in America. But eventually I ended up moving out to Boulder, Colorado. And that's because I love skiing, the mountains, and the outdoors. During my time in Boulder, I actually delivered laundry for a job. So I followed up my first gig out of school at the car wash with being a laundry delivery man. I You could say I think my parents were more confused than I was at that time. Just like, what the hell is he doing? And I wish I could have told him because I was just going for it at that point. But the plan was to find that first real job when I got out there. However, Boulder and all of its surroundings are pretty amazing, and I enjoyed myself a lot. Always kind of focused on my next adventure, and finding that job, I kind of forgot about it. My summer lease came to an end real quick on me. I had no money saved, so that forced me to go right back home. But then I quickly found that first real job in Chicago, and it was in the corporate world, in the cube farms of cube farms. And on top of that, my role was an accounts receivable analyst. That job is as thrilling as it sounds, and I legitimately have nothing else to say more about it. But after some time there, I actually ended up landing the role that I thought was going to start my career. I got hired by a top, young, cool marketing firm. You know them. They have the happy hours and the kegs in the office and some really good clients that are going to get you really enticed to work there. And my team in particular, our client was a major player in the automotive industry. So I was really pumped. I felt like I finally was going to be legitimate and I had that job I could tell people about and be proud of. And I really thought it was going to be the start of my career. And at first it was great. As I said, I was pumped. This is it. I got the cool marketing job I've been looking for. But after some time, I realized I was working around the clock. I had no personal life because I was always stressed out. Even on the weekends, all I could think about was what am I going to be doing for work the next day or the next week? And that all sucked. But none of those compared to what was the nail in the coffin. And that was when I had the epiphany. I wasn't being fulfilled in any way. So on top of being stressed, not enjoying my personal life, I was just completely unfulfilled. And that is when I realized I needed to leave this job. At first, I was just going to move somewhere and completely start over. I figured I'd just get a sales gig, and I was looking everywhere from Austin, Texas to Bozeman, Montana. My mindset was, if I can just move somewhere cool, I'll get a sales gig, and then I'll eventually find a job that I like. But then that desire that never really left me to do something meaningful kicked in harder than ever. And that is what led me to create this podcast. So now you know a little bit about my path, what the show is all about, and all the value you're going to receive from listening. Now I'm asking you to take action. Go check out the show's website at ubpath.com. That's the letter U, the letter B, path.com. You'll find every episode of the show along with breakdowns and key takeaways under the podcast section. I also have a blog featured on the site. Check out my posts about the road trip I took across the country last year and why everybody should do it. You can also connect with me through the Contact Sean page. Please reach out as much as you desire. I want to hear any feedback you have, good or bad. Last thing about the website, you'll find all the ways to connect with me and the podcast through social media, including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So if you just like what you heard, and especially after listening to the full episodes, I would be so grateful if you could please subscribe to the show and leave a ratings and review in iTunes. This is going to increase the likelihood of getting the show in front of more people like you who are looking for this type of content. And with that, I want to thank you so much once again for joining me for the introductory episode of the podcast. And let's go head down the unbeaten path.
Bye.